This is Dr. Gail Brenner. I'm very pleased to be offering you this conversation that I had recently with Emmet. We had the joy of talking about awareness of the body, healing from trauma, the discovery of our true nature, and something we're both passionate about, which is surrendering our personal desires so we can live fully from presence and love. I hope you enjoy it.
Hi, everyone. I'm Gail Brenner, and I'm happy to have a guest with us today. I'm going to be having a conversation with Emmet. And Ellen has been actually a friend of mine for about the past 10 years or so. And I love Ellen's teaching because it's about the discovery of our true nature and knowing ourselves beyond the limitations of our mind, which I know that's something all of us are interested in understanding better. And Ellen offers this teaching regarding awareness of the body. And it's actually in the world of spirituality and spiritual teaching, it's quite a unique teaching. And I'm really happy to have Ellen here with us today. And we're going to have a conversation and see where it goes. So welcome to you, Ellen.
Hi there, Gail. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
Sure. Hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Ellen, I'm wondering if you could just say a few words about who you are and what you do, and just so people can get a sense of you.
Okay. I'm in England, by the way, everyone. It's not as sunny as wherever you are, I'm sure. So who am I? Gail, that's a big topic, my journey and what I do. And well, you said that you introduced me as somebody who works, who shares explorations of our true nature, obviously via the mind, because we use language and we use our minds when we explore our true nature, but also with the body. And the body's always been very very loud in my experience, for the better and for the worse, I would say. And I think that's why it's brought me to this place today of sharing kind of yoga meditations with groups of people. And also in my therapy practice, I do a lot of where I help people connect with their experience of the body, as well as with a level of story and thinking about our experience. So I guess the reason for that is that I always was very kind of, you could say, kind of pre-verbal. Even at an age where you're verbal, I was still pre-verbal. I always kind of felt the language of comfort was the language of the body, and I love to dance and I love to move as a little girl and escape in the world of sensation and tactility. And this was, of course, before I encountered anything to do with anything to do knowingly with my true nature. But I suppose as a child, I don't know about you, Gail, but I feel that if I connect back to the child, I can connect back with an intuition of my true nature almost, but at the feeling level. Mm. So
sure, and for you that comes through in some ways as regarding movement and awareness of the body.
Today, yeah, definitely.
Today,
definitely,
yeah. So
but
when
also,
you say oh, sorry, you go.
Sorry, Gail. I was just going to add that was a joyful experience of the body as a child, but there was also a painful connection to the body. Obviously, I think it's true for all of us, but pain gets registered. Trauma, pain, difficulties get experienced at the level of the body before they're interpreted or conceived of, and that was the case for me too. And I had, for years, I battled an eating disorder, so there was a lot. There was the field of the body, this realm of feelings and sensations was a very rich, intense portal, and also expression of darkness. And so it's been.
I'm wondering if it's been kind of more prominent for you, because in my work, a lot of the people that I work with are not so aware of the body. There's so much going on in the body, but they're more in their heads and basically pretty much unaware of what's happening in the body. And it sounds like your experience was quite different from that.
Well, yes, I think probably, although, I think I'm also, or was also, and still can be very much in my head, because I think the conditioning by nature, the conditioning, and also in our culture, a double whammy of conditioning is that of thinking our experience rather than experiencing our experience directly, which would be more the realm of sensing and body. So I wasn't exempt of that, but I know what you mean. I mean, people come to me and they don't have the link to the body. They don't know what it means to feel the body. They have no idea. Obviously, you don't want an idea. You just want to, but you want to do it. You want to not even do it. It's not a doing. It's just right there, the body. But people seem to need guidance and permission, because I think it's a scary place. The body is not a place of reasoning. It's irrational. It's another dimension, you could say. And it's a beautiful. I mean, it's our life. It's pure energy. The body, pure life.
So what do you see as the value of going to, you've called it darkness and energy, and you called it life and darkness and energy. I mean, it's so much, so rich, just to even contemplate what's happening in the body, let alone experience it directly. So why is it important? Because in psychotherapy, people don't know that, there are a lot of body-based therapies right now, and people are focusing more on the body, in my experience anyway, than they ever have. And, with trauma, people say trauma is held in the body. So what do you see as the value or the benefit of opening up into the body as part of our healing experience?
Well, I see it as absolutely of great importance, and really very, very much so. But I want to say that it depends also. I mean, we're mixing levels there, and we do mix levels, and it's fine to do that. But there's a kind of level of therapy and healing, and then there's the level of realizing our true nature. And although they're completely interconnected, I think it's quite good to talk about them separately, so that you have a kind of sense of clarity. And I'll say maybe a few things that until Gail, you can interject and maybe add or subtract.
Okay.
But the importance of exploring our body when we are interested, through the grace of God, interested in exploring our true nature and realizing our true nature. The body is obviously a place of great importance to explore, because it's the kind of hidden place for the sense of being a separate individual being. It can be quite quickly very clear at the level of the mind that there's only a belief in separation, but it's actually quite easy to come to the conclusion that nothing can prove that I, awareness, am separate and individual. People can gain that understanding if they are given a good teaching quite easily, if they're truly interested. But then, the feeling of being separate and limited resists that investigation at the level of the mind, and it's very important to embark upon an exploration at the level of the body. Let the body itself be, in a way, put in the way of the teaching, so as to reveal all the habits of separation and the sense of being separate, the feeling, and to see what that truly is made of, and to let it dissolve in its own unique way that the body has. It's not a thinking process; it's an actual melting process of the body. So that would be the kind of reason why one should explore the body if one's interested in realizing and abiding in and as awareness.
So can I ask you more about that? So what would that actually look like? Is it so simple as just bringing attention to the physical sensations, or is there something more than that?
Well, it's much more than that, I think. It's because it would entail at first an interest in nature, and in a way, you have to start with your true nature when you explore the body from that perspective. You have to start with the understanding, maybe not the felt understanding, but at least let's say the openness to the fact that I, whatever, that I, when we say I, that refers not to a separate body-mind, not to a woman or a man, but that I refers to awareness, to presence, to whatever you want to call it, but that something that you call it is not limited and not located. And, so already, in a way, before you embark on the expression of the body, you have to have explored quite a bit and developed a deep interest and also a kind of openness to your true nature. And then you embark upon this exploration, which does not just entail feeling the body, but it's like a ritual almost, this non-dual body exploration. It's like you do it regularly. It's not a one-shot deal. You do it over many, many, many years where it's a welcoming of the body at its own level, directly. What is the body? If I know that the body is not the cage for me, what is it? What is the body free of any concept, free of a visual memory, free of any idea, free of, the idea that I'm a woman, that I'm small, short. So you start to explore the body directly, and you establish, as you go, you establish first that, the body is just this flow of sensations, and then you establish that I don't live in the body, but rather the body lives in me. You establish this through a direct exploration. And you go on like this. You start to become familiar with the feelings that create the illusion of separation. You become very intimate with these tensions and densities and contractions that come usually with a story attached to them, but you're especially interested in the sensation aspect at that moment. I'm
wondering, would an example of that be? I've noticed in my own exploration, very subtle contractions, like I lift my left shoulder, and if I'm not aware of it, I'm lifting it. And when I become aware, I realize that contraction, and of course I can relax it. But would that be an example of the beginning of separation by that contraction just existing?
Yes, absolutely. Like the shoulder lifting like that is a subtle little kind of me, Francis Lucille, my teacher, used to call them me feelings in the body. It's a tiny little sense of being located in the body, a little fear, a little protective mechanism, a little defense that takes the form of this lifting of the shoulder, and it's, you become aware of it. And before the relaxation, in a way, you taste that. Before the body naturally relaxes, it's funny, the body's so innocent like that. It just needs to be welcomed, and the welcoming in this case took the form of you becoming aware of that tension and tasting it, actually letting it be there, and because it's given the permission to just be an innocent sensation, it's as if you have taken your stand as the space that surrounds it rather than remaining located within it. And you say yes to it, and naturally that sensation relaxes. So it's such a rich process because it relaxes, which is nice. The body feels better. But also there's a minute little teaching there that the body is always going back to its source, which is this openness, this ever-present relaxation. All this sounds easy and spiritual and kind of, it's very subtle and layered, and it's not always so quick. Because in this case, you chose an example that's very kind of not too charged, just a little tension. But other times you might be dealing with very layered fear, emotions, first of all, or layered or trauma, traces of so-called trauma, or things that are much more layered, that need more time, that come back over and over again,
So what do you do? And I'm thinking that if something is more layered and there's trauma associated, it's not just sensation, but the story will come, and that probably reinforces the sensation. So how do you offer people to? What do you offer to people to work with that? What do you do when you feel the sensation? And some people, once they start feeling their bodies, they realize how contracted they are. But the story is so strong. What do you offer to people to help relax the story?
Yeah, I mean that's nice kind of question, and this is more for the individual work now, not the group work. But I mean, I don't have a recipe. I know you're a therapist too, Gail, and I know you don't have a recipe. I mean, this is where love is our main guide, and I feel like when people come, especially in the beginning, and if you can feel with a client, with someone, that the story is truly still very charged, that story needs to be told. In my experience, it needs to be told. It needs to be how to say it, re-enlivened. It's not told in a mechanical way, but told as if you're going to write a poem of it, or it needs to be imagined back into life, because stories are very important. They're full of life, and so I feel like those stories need to be told, and then as they're told, it's almost like they bring with them the layers of feelings that live under the surface, the actual feelings. And of course, I feel, and I don't know if you agree with this, that our job, maybe as kind of midwives or therapists, is to provide the safety and space and no rush and no agenda kind of atmosphere that is conducive.
Absolutely.
To people just,
and I do want to second how important the story is, going into the story. That, and I mean, I've said myself and written many times about how, it's helpful to let go of the story, and there's a time and place for that, and ultimately that's, that letting go happens. It's not like you let go, but the story starts to let go of itself. But until that time comes when it happens naturally, and there's a readiness around there, and the story maybe hasn't really been addressed for a long time and hasn't come out into the light, it's been hidden and maybe trapped in by shame and other kinds of feelings or thoughts, that it needs to be told. And I completely agree, it needs to be told and spoken with the safety to be able to feel the feelings around it and have it be received and have it be welcomed by, and this is where therapy helps, by another person sitting face to face who can witness it and be there with you in the telling of it.
Exactly, because the relationship is very important at that moment somehow. The being heard, the being witnessed. The words, it's as if the words, a story, if it's lying dormant in your memory, it's dead. But as soon as it's spoken, it's like it's life. It's alive. It's creative. And if people feel really heard and encouraged to say it as they feel it, even if it's not exactly the facts, because after all, it's a memory. It engages a lot of them. It engages, more and more their emotional body. It engages them, and that itself is healing. That's just one aspect of the healing, but it's very important, I think.
So we're speaking now at these different levels. So before we were speaking at the level of, knowing our true nature and awareness. Now we kind of shifted to to the healing aspect. Do you want to say anything more about the healing power of bringing awareness into the body?
Did you say the healing power? Yes, the healing power. Gosh, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's it's almost more. You said to bring awareness into the body, and then I'm thinking about that, and I'm thinking it's more that body and awareness. It's like bringing awareness to the body. How could it's so difficult to talk about this, but it's almost like we bring in the body to awareness and awareness to the body, like a marriage.
Yes.
It's as if we had divorced. The body had been divorced from life or from awareness, or it had. There's been something that's been cut off, and what we're trying to facilitate is a reunion, a kind of reconnection of so-called body, meaning our sensation, our aliveness, our energy, or tactility, or sensation, to bring that back to its divinity, to the fact that that itself is awareness. I mean, awareness isn't separate from all its experiences,
right?
And so yes, it's tremendously important. I think if you want to live a full life, and it doesn't even mean some people come, they're not interested in realizing their true nature in that way, in that spiritual way. But everybody's interested in being alive, and I guess in this non-dual circle, they say everybody wants happiness and peace, and I feel that's true. But I feel like saying, but everybody wants to feel their life. Be true to their life, and I think the body there is very important. It's because that's really the first expression of our life as a wave in this ocean of awareness is the body. I hope.
So when people feel stuck in their emotions. Meaning, and let me describe what I wrote an article about anger, actually a few years ago at this point, and I still get lots of people writing in about it. These are people who really have a hard time with their anger. That it comes out of control. It wreaks havoc on their lives. They don't like it. They don't like the way it feels, but they feel like they can't do anything about it to really make this situation or the experience any different for themselves. So what do you do when someone feels really stuck in an emotion like that? Like, what would be helpful?
Well, that again, there's not one recipe, because there is also a place for a kind of stop it, a kind of stop it energy, like just get a grip, dude. In other words,
get a grip, dude.
But certain emotions, they're very young, and I know that because I have myself, I can be very triggered, and I can feel a very young place sometimes reacting in a very young way. And it's a very hard thing to manage, because at some point you've done enough exploring, and you just really have to almost look after that moment. It's no longer the feeling you're looking after, but the moment of triggering. You need to walk away, take space.
Yeah.
Create a situation where you can actually step back from the feeling, the heat of it, the intensity of it. But once you've done that, if you succeed in doing that, wow, you've got A+. I mean, that's hard. So that would be the first thing to practice, I guess, and then once you have stepped away, then you can do the welcoming of the feeling, and the letting exploring this intense wave of sensation, this intensity, to let it fully blossom, but not in the presence of the charged situation, not in the not while you're in the situation.
I love that. So it's not denying the feeling at all. It's just not letting it play itself out in the situation, but you take the moment and the time out and go away and just get quiet with that feeling, and then let it have its full expression.
Yes, and I think, so in the therapy, maybe you would have to, usually these very young feelings have to do with attachment issues, and you at that moment you're your attachment issues are completely, you are just this 2-year-old and mommy is not there, and you are projecting your stuff on your partner and wanting him to parent you and setting it up so that he'll absolutely not want to parent you, basically. So I think the task in the therapeutic setting would be to not grow up, let that 2-year-old be, but grow the skill of the parent in yourself.
Yes,
develop that
absolutely.
part of you that can nurture and care for these other faces of yourself.
And then going from that, because I actually work that way a lot too, about inviting that parent in to take care of that young energy. So then moving from that level, which is now healing, like how does that relate to knowing ourselves as not separate and not located anywhere, and really knowing our true nature? Like, how would you move from that, say someone develops those skills to be able to be with that feeling and they're interested in their true nature, what's the bridge?
Well, I think the bridge the bridge is, there isn't a real bridge. It's like a timeless moment. Like you do all this kind of therapeutic exploration of your inner child, and you're learning to relate to it, etc., and taking back your projections, and then at a certain moment the call to abide or explore your true nature arrives. And you just pause and you go right to your true nature. And all that work is suspended. The bridge is more like a rabbit hole. You go to another dimension. You go to your true nature. And everything is seen to be, arising out of and made out of the same reality, the same substance. At that moment, all of the more relative kind of endeavors are put to rest. They're not nothing matters anymore but the peace of your true nature. And in fact, and it's very good to do that, because they interface, those levels. They interface very much, but you don't need to bridge them. You just let the interfacing happen. The bridging and interfacing happens naturally. Because in a way, when we explore things therapeutically, we do it, that itself is an arising in our truth. See what I'm saying? It's
as everything is, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think we need to worry about bridging. I would say just to be careful not to go to a kind of non-dual thing to avoid. In avoidance, what they call a spiritual bypass. If you can catch yourself, if you do that and you catch it, don't do it. Don't do it, because not good. But if
and can you be specific? Don't do what? Like I'm sure people are wondering.
Don't avoid exploring your life experience as fully as possible. In a way, exploring what the so-called unconscious. Don't avoid looking, turning over every stone that shows up, because it's interesting. It's your life, and if you don't turn it over, life is going to keep tapping you on the shoulder to make you.
I mean, for me, that is the most amazing thing about life, to be fully with what's here in the moment, whether it's a feeling or a strong sensation or the deepest peace, like way beyond imagination, or some ecstatic spiritual experience, or, something challenging happens in life and you've been thrown off guard. I mean, this is it. This is it that we're living, exactly. Right?
Yeah. But to be honest, not to tell yourself stories. It's quite an art, the art of life, to let life live itself in a way, and not to subtitle it too much, not to direct it, because you can't really ultimately, but yet to really, really let it taste it, let it caress you, let it move you,
let it live you. It's
let it
living
live you, and let it speak you, because we know it's not you that speaks your life; it's your life that speaks you, and let it create forms using you. You basically give yourself over to your life, but not as an end gaming for the separate one.
Yes, exactly. So people hearing that might be terrified. Like, what do you mean I'm supposed to give my life over? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What do I mean? I don't know what I mean. I do know what... I mean, you can't do that in one big kind of ritual sacrifice. But it's like, really, you can't give your life over. But what you can do is you can, if you're interested, is you can see the moment where you're holding on, where you're keeping your life hijacked, hostage to the separate entity. When you're, for example, when you're repressing a feeling, or you're defending, or you're trying too hard, and you catch yourself, and you realize you're holding your life for yourself being the separate entity at that moment.
Yes.
Totally human to do that, by the way. We'll keep doing that. But the beauty of seeing that, and then, what follows from that scene, just laying it down.
Absolutely.
And the laying it down is so beautiful, because it sets the life free. It's in fact, life becomes more alive. When I say, when we say to surrender our life, it means to let our life be more alive. It doesn't mean being less alive. And I think people get terrified because they think, oh my God, of course I'll be out of control. But no, don't worry. You never were in control in the first place.
Right.
You were just creating a lot of tension. Yeah.
And we speak about laying down the defense, laying down the need to protect, laying down, one thing that's coming to mind for me is expectations, which causes so much suffering for people. It's about the separate entity wanting to control life, and it just doesn't work. No,
it doesn't. But it happens, and we have to...
It happens,
It happens and will happen, and that too is interesting. Let's put it that way.
Yes. So when those moments happen, it's about receiving them and not judging those moments, or, I shouldn't have, oh, Dan, I had an expectation. It's about honoring that moment. That's what this moment is bringing.
Yes. And to come back to the body, to feel that moment rather than interpreting it or subtitling it, to feel it, just to feel it. For example, you feel jealous. Okay, jealousy. Label off. What does it feel like? What is it?
Yeah.
To really, really feel it with the body. Feel.
Right.
And of course, the story too. But to give it so much space, it will have to travel back to its source at some point. Simply because where else would it go? Mm-hmm. And on the way, so much life, so much energy, so much...
Yeah.
I don't know what. So much life. I don't know. It's so easy to speak about these things, Gail, isn't it? And
it's fun.
Yeah.
What else do you want to talk about?
No, I know.
To me, this is the most exciting thing.
Yeah.
One of the words that's been coming up for me a lot recently is attunement, and that has to do with attachment, that these attachment problems, or not problems, just how things are when we're young sometimes, that we haven't been attuned to. So you have a feeling, or you're disappointed, or you get scared, which often happens, and it might even be pre-verbally as a young child, and it's not seen or honored, or worse, it's criticized or judged or ignored or whatever, and so we don't. No one attuned to our feelings, and we don't learn how to attune to our own feelings or in the body expression of the feelings. So it's this bringing awareness to the feelings and the feelings to awareness is this kind of natural attunement to what's actually here, which I think is part of what makes it so delicious. Yeah,
exactly, and that's a nice word, attunement. And somehow the therapeutic relationship and relationship in general are the place for that to hopefully happen.
So what would you say to people who are very caught in their minds in the story, where they try to go into the sensations, try to open, but the mind keeps grabbing? Is there anything you can say about that?
Well, again, I don't have recipes. I know I have had people come who are like that, and for some time I maybe let them, because I feel the first thing that needs to be established is a true connection, and it may take a little bit of time for them to, even though their minds, they still kind of go on and on with the story. I'm connecting with them at a kind of lower, deeper, you could say, level of beingness. I might be smiling. I'm just attuning silently and letting them go because they need to. And then later on, after a few sessions, you may be gently drawing attention to that fact or maybe inviting them to feel, and just initiating them. It's like an initiation. I mean, because isn't it delicious to feel our bodies? If we're initiated and we have a guide and we are shown how alive it is there and how peaceful, because when we welcome our experience and include the body, we don't need to do much. We don't need to. The mind can kind of settle a bit, or even if it continues being agitated, it doesn't need to be embarked with. You don't need to take the train of all those thoughts. You just let them go. It's a nice discovery, but it's one that we all have been initiated into. It's very rare that would be spontaneous. So I guess with a client who's on and on with the story, it depends on the client. Some people, they'll never. It's too much. The trauma's too intense. But even then, they're little, for a fraction of a second, a smile, a tease. You can use humor. You could say, "Oh, did you catch your breath?" You can just tiny little. You open the door, but then it's for them to go or not. You can't push somebody into feeling their bodies. That would be unfair. I don't know. Do you see it that way? I don't know. How do you do it, Gail?
Yeah. I don't have a recipe either, but it's inviting. It's holding the space where that's possible. I think I show up fearless. Really, like I can hear anything, and it's pretty much not going to land in me. So to be with someone who carries that fearlessness, it just makes it much more safe for to expose whatever needs to be exposed, and then letting that invitation keep coming. What's striking me is that we're not talking at all about fixing anything. The stories that happen that might be so distressing, they're not to be fixed, and that feelings aren't wrong, and something that we're trying to make our experience different in any way. It's really not that at all.
No.
It's a pure welcoming.
I mean, sometimes there might be solutions needed, or decisions need to be made, and new ways need to be explored, but that it has to come fresh from the exploration. it's quite creative, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, creative in the sense that it arises out of the exploration itself. Whatever change or fixing, as you say, it's going to be spontaneous.
Yes, and if it's needed, it'll show itself. It'll be known that that's needed. Yeah. Mm. So is there anything else kind of, coming up for you or burning there in your mind that you want to share about your work or about, the role of this exploration in realizing our true nature?
I don't know if there's anything I want to add. I just would reemphasize the beauty of exploring the body and not just in the context of difficult feelings, but actually just as an ongoing kind of ritual. I feel like it's a ritual to sit on your mat and really, in a way, surrender the body to the surrounding open field of tactile. Of course, it's not tactile awareness, but when you're working with the body, to really let it blossom in this field of love. Really, it's a beautiful ritual and one that can one that resonates with love.
That's so beautifully said. And, I want to say that you use the word yoga in what you call your explorations, but it's not like the yoga class that you'll find at your typical yoga studio at all. It's a slow, open, it's so spacious and so, just the invitation is huge in the way that you offer your these explorations.
Yes, and you don't need to know how to, you don't need to be flexible, which is good because, everybody should be invited to this feast.
Yes,
yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I want to let people know that you have meditations or guided processes available, and they're on your site, which is Ellen Emmet, ELLENEMMET.com. And then also on YouTube, do you have a YouTube channel where you're offering these?
I do. Yeah, I do. There's a few things, but not too many kind of guided. Just a few tasters, you could say. But the best, the more on my website, or obviously I do travel a bit and offer various events, and those are on my website too.
Yeah, Ellen travels in Europe and also the U.S. I don't know, only in California or other places in the U.S. as well?
Just in California, yeah, for now.
Just in California at this point. For now, yeah. Yeah, but who knows? Ellen, thank you so much. This is so, I'm expanded. I feel connected. I'm just grateful that we've had this opportunity to have this conversation, and it's, and I love that we're going to, put that out to people. It's going to be published and available online, and it's really, I think, a message that people need to hear and can really benefit from, about just the welcoming and the welcoming in the body, and this invitation to not just be in the thoughts and in the stories, but to open to the possibilities, not only for healing, but for knowing who we are, for expanding beyond the physical sensations, and knowing this awareness where we're, as you say, limitless, and it's just who we are. Beautiful.
Thank you, Gail.
Thank you, Ellen. Yeah, thank you so much. And I wanted to say again, Ellen, you can reach Ellen at her website, aliveness.com. Thanks so much, Ellen, and thank you, everyone. And we'll be back with another interview soon. Take care.
Bye.